Hey guys, and welcome to another Factorio Friday Facts discussion. I am actually joined today by Scarhoof,
Hello, everyone.
and this one is quite interesting. This revolves almost entirely around optimizations, except one particular section of it. I think there's a lot of kind of debate over, and could actually put a pretty huge impact on the game. So we're going to go into that in a fair bit of length, but we'll just start at the top here. Kind of just summarize quickly. This is written by Kovarex, and he pretty much just goes on in this first paragraph to say that he's addicted to optimization and optimizing the game. that, he wakes up or he can't go to sleep at night because he's thinking about ways to optimize stuff, or when he's taking walks, he's thinking about ways to optimize stuff, which is good.
And that's what you want out of a developer.
Exactly.
You want someone obsessed with making the game better.
Yeah, which it's perfect. Exactly. This is really good news.
Yep. Oh, and speaking of which, on Reddit, I saw in the Friday Facts thread, one of the devs, I can't remember who it was, basically said that anything below 60 FPS is unplayable.
Yeah, that was Kovarex.
Oh, was it Kovarex? Okay, yeah.
Which was
I
great.
just remember seeing that, and I'm like, yeah, that's the sort of attitude I want to see.
Yeah. Yeah, because people were like commenting that, you can like add optimizations, make it 100 times more optimized, but we'll just push the limit and stuff like that. And then he's just like, well, anything under 60 is unplayable.
Mm-hmm.
So the first part here is they did some optimizations to the electric network. Now, some of this technical stuff, we don't really understand. The electrical part, I somewhat understand. So currently, they have a continuous buffer of a electric connector data stored in the electric network. It needs to be iterated twice, first for the calculation and then second for the power distribution. And this picture diagram here kind of shows that. Essentially, I have noticed, actually, in some maps, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've noticed that in some maps, the electrical network under the game time used can actually get pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
So the optimization for this is definitely good because it will actually have an impact, like noticeable probably.
Yeah. And I don't understand exactly what they're doing, but just looking at the pictures here, it seems like they're just taking the like items and grouping them. So let's say you have 4,000 fast inserters, rather than looking at 20 fast inserters and then calculating an assembler and then 20 more fast inserters and another 5 assemblers. They're basically saying, at least the way I'm looking at this, is let's look at how many fast inserters we have across the entire game, lump them all together, and that's our calculation for all the fast inserters.
Okay, that makes more sense, and I can see how that would really help. And wouldn't be too hard to do because all inserters or all fast inserters take the same amount of power, and all assembler twos, if they're not beacon and stuff, take the same amount of power.
Exactly. So you just kind of calculate everything, lump them into like items, and maybe they'll separate them out. They'll say all or all assemblers that are beaconed go under one lump too. That way it's a much easier calculation. Of course, then you also have to figure out which ones are idle, which ones are going full bore, which ones are kind of stopping and starting. But I mean, right. You have to do the calculations for those odd ones anyway. So maybe if they just have they just lump them into things, then you can just kind of add them all together, and that's what your power is.
Right. Yeah, so that's awesome. And just to conclude this, it says in the last sentence here, the conclusion is that the electric network transfers are more than twice as fast in 0.16 compared to what they are now in 0.15. So more than double an improvement with this. And then
it's interesting that they call it electric network transfers. So maybe this isn't necessarily a UPS boost. This is just how quickly it's able to do the calculations and send the electricity over the network, which of course, if that's optimized, then you're going to see a back-end UPS boost. But they're specifically targeting how quickly the electric network is able to distribute the electricity to the items that need it.
Oh, no, that's an interesting thought. Yeah, that could certainly be the case. Yeah, that is actually potentially it. So moving down to smoke, and this is the part that kind of just completely goes over my head. Well, not that smoke needs an optimization, because that is very true.
Oh yeah,
and pretty clear. In fact, pretty much now in the last several factories I've done, I've actually used a mod called Smokeless that just completely eliminates smoke 100% from the game, and it actually makes a noticeable impact. So the optimization on smoke is really good news because that was something now that is, kind of bringing the UPS down. And they even say that, that they've optimized so much, and they kind of went back around and did a bench test and stuff, benchmark, and smoke was actually kind of up there now. And yeah, so they say the problem was that even creating the smoke object and registering on the map was slowing the game down. The plan was to make something we internally call trivial smoke. The trivial smoke data size is 32 bytes, which is quite small compared to the previous smoke as entity, which was 256 bytes. It only contains the most basic data squished as much as possible and is stored in a continuous piece of memory on the chunk it was created. So they have a diagram here, which I kind of understand. So it looks like they're showing that it ticks until next update. 1, 2, 10.
The way I'm reading this is that rather than going and look at every single smoke chunk, every smoke picture or image on the map and deciding whether it needs to be updated, they're basically saying, let's just update all the smoke across the entire map, and then let's not update the smoke until we come back around.
Okay. And that would make sense. That would improve.
I'm probably wrong, and I'm sure people will correct me, but that's the way I'm kind of reading it right now.
Yeah. And I know that there's people who watch this who are much more versed in programming and stuff, so if we're wrong, let us know about this and tell us how this actually works or what they're doing, because not sure we entirely understand, but the gist of it is smoke is going to perform a lot better in 0.16. That's the important part. Now, somewhere in here, okay, so now we move down to the very interesting part, I would say. Logistics bot dilemma. Now, I want to preface this by saying that I have actually, a while ago, our Seeding, who is the main optimization guy, aside from Kovrex, I guess, was actually discussing with me and a group of people this exact thing that they're proposing, and he had this idea to do this, but wasn't sure if it was actually viable or if it would even be, considered. But now that it's in a Friday Facts, it looks like they have actually at least taken it to the stage of considering it, which is really, really good news. So logistics bot dilemma. Dilemma is whether to use similar approach to logistics bots as for the smoke. This would mean that logistics bots would be created, updated, or removed very fast, and their memory footprint would decrease a lot, but they wouldn't be regular entities. They couldn't be mined, which could be for the better, I agree. Couldn't be attacked or damaged by anything, which again would be welcomed by some players. I'm quite sure that it shouldn't apply for construction bots, as they are more related to the fighting part of the game, but logistic bots aren't. The dilemma is whether changing the game rules like this just for optimization isn't going too far. So, what are your thoughts?
That's an interesting one. I was just recording a Real World episode recently where I ran out of power. I was creating a station, I ran out of power. And so the bots, of course, when they run out of power, they try to move over to a network that has power, right? When all the roboports run out.
Right.
And of course, so now they start migrating, a few hundred blocks to the south. And I'm scrambling along trying to pick them up so I can hold on to them, right? So you wouldn't be able to do that. That was the first thought that came in my head, is if the bots start doing something that because you didn't have your infrastructure set up in place, you wouldn't be able to grab them out of the air to fix it, right? The other thing I'm thinking about how this is going to do is when you first get your power armor and you have very little power, but you have like your first 1 or 2 personal roboports, and you're dumping, I guess that would be construction robots, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I guess it wouldn't really matter for logistics robots. All right. I was just thinking, like, how you pick up your robots to save on power because your batteries are running low. But yeah. It wouldn't matter for the logistics robots, I guess.
Right. Yeah. This change would only apply to logistics bots.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. I'd be interested to see how it actually happens, and if there's any sort of a visual difference between the construction robots and logistics robots running around in your world. I would assume no, but
from my understanding,
be a little weird.
Yeah, from my understanding, what our Seeding was saying is visually and stuff, there would be no difference. You just couldn't interact with them.
So there'd just be a graphic going, like they'd be like smoke, basically. They would just be like smoke going across the thing.
Yeah, but they would actually be like transferring items and stuff.
Yeah.
Now, my thoughts on this are yes, please.
Yeah.
Because I know that from talking with our seating, this is actually quite a large optimization if this were to take place. Making bots like this, from what he said, his initial estimates were like 25% improvement on bot UPS usage,
UPS?
which
Wow.
means that it's like, and bots are like at least 25% of like the entire game usage.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be at least like a 5% increase overall, potentially more.
Yeah, especially for the mega bases that are using bots to transfer, do your smelting and other things.
Right. So I think this could be a pretty huge optimization, and I agree with you that for this, like, specific situations you mentioned, this would be a problem. However, on the other hand, it'd be quite nice because if you're like in a bot build and bots are flying around and you go to pick up like an inserter, you're not going to grab like 15 bots out of the air at the same time.
That's true. Yep.
Super
Because sometimes when you're
frustrating.
picking up your construction bots, you end up with a couple logistics robots in your inventory too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And there were a lot of, comments on the Reddit thread and on the forum discussion. And, another good point that was brought up is I don't think it matters that logistics bots can't be attacked with this change because they're not meant to be in combat anyway. Like, I mean, and
Right.
someone made a comment on the forum discussion. They were like, they disagreed with this, and they were like, well, I don't think this is a good change because if your logistics robots are transferring resources over biter bases, it's kind of cheaty because then they just can't get hit and the biters can't stop them. Well, that's true, but my first thought is if you're having your logistics bots transfer resources over enemy bases, I think you got bigger problems than the fact that they can't be attacked. Like, so.
And it's always a big pain, and that usually happens when you do like an extension out from your base and they have to go diagonally, and then the biters end up moving into an area that was already cleared out.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have to drop everything you're doing and rush over there to fix them, and then of course the construction robots head over there to try to repair them.
Right.
And then you end up with just this slaughter, this bot slaughter.
Yeah,
so
pretty much.
I'm okay with that. I mean, not everything has to be true to life. Not everything has to be make sense in the real world,
Yeah, exactly.
because it's a video game, so it has to be fun. Even though like the Kovarex enrichment process is not exactly like chemically sound from our physics or from in our world kind of a thing. So you gotta balance between making it as fun to play as well as trying to keep some sense of reality in there, and I think this works.
Yeah, I think this works too. I really hope that they decide to implement this because it could be pretty huge optimization-wise. So the running total, he benchmarked a huge save of Vaclav V, which if my viewers
that's
remember...
the one you showcased a couple months ago, right?
Yeah, that's
really
the one
beautiful base
I showcased and did an interview with him. And yeah, it's this huge, insane belt base that ran... and this was in 15. We did this in 15. I think it ran at like maybe 30 UPS on my computer. But Kovarex says here it can already run 2.4 times faster in 0.16 compared to 15. So we met our 2 times faster release quota, but I'm afraid this won't stop the addiction. That is
That's
impressive.
Awesome. Yep, that is fantastic.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just really good news, and that shows what the belt optimizations have done. Is they're at least 2 times faster.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to trying out Alpha 16 because I get to a certain size of my bases and then the UPS hits.
Yeah.
And I'm running 4-year-old hardware right now. I know I really need an upgrade, but I mean, I can maintain 60 FPS and record from up to a certain point, but
right.
Seeing this means I'll be able to keep recording those mega bases without the performance hit for a lot further into the game. So I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, it's definitely really exciting. And then the last part here is Stonepath update. So almost all the terrain has been updated for 0.16, which includes the high-res update of it. I really look forward to seeing that, and they even say that they're going to cover that, terrain, trees, decals, improvements in the future. Here I'd like to present the new version of Stonepath terrain made by Ernestes. It has inspired as many things in Factorio by the Eastern style of pavements, and I'm starting to be a fan of his work. So,
it's pretty.
That's
pretty. Really all there is to say about it. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's really, really nice. I think it's going to go great.
Mm-hmm. With stuff he's keeping he's keeping the old style of the hexes from the previous one, but just adding in those borders. I mean, those defined borders around on the outside are just awesome. I love it. I would love to see how this is going to look with concrete, because concrete got a much sharper edge recently, didn't it?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, can't wait to see how this looks with concrete.
I agree, and maybe they'll do a similar thing to concrete even. And I also like, I think, I like the color variations they've added. Like, you see how there's, like, the darkish, like, brown, almost black, and then some of the lighter ones. The current one doesn't have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the current one's just, like, gray, period.
Yeah. And is it just me, or does that electric smelter look slightly blue? I don't remember ever noticing that before.
It does look kind of blue, huh?
Yeah, it's got a little teal on like the face and the sides and stuff, which is cool. I maybe I've just never paid attention to it before, but it looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks really, really great. So this was a really good Friday Facts. Lots of awesome info. Definitely probably a lot of discussion and thoughts to be had in the comments, so leave those down below. Do you have any other thoughts?
Nope.
All right, awesome. That'll conclude it for this one. As always, thanks for watching, everyone, and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.